It's Genshin Reset, I have 160 resin, and we all know what we're going to do. Let's farm some artifacts, baby! And that is usually how artifact farming goes. But why is it like that? And are artifacts rigged against you? Well, I can answer that really quickly. Yes, artifacts are rigged to have the non-desirable stat come up more often, like defense percent, our good friend, than the more desirable stats, like crit chance or crit damage. The Genshin Impact wiki displays all the odds for the artifacts, where you can clearly see that the chance to get the main stat roll for death percent or HP percent is much higher than crit chance. But the worst offenders for this are definitely the goblets, who give you a 5% chance to get any of the damage bonuses. So if you're trying to get an electro goblet from, for instance, an electro artifact set, good luck getting 95% goblets, which are just absolutely worthless. On top of this, you need to roll the correct substats. These substats are also weighted out of your favor, where HP and flat death and HP percent and defense percent are both a double stat, while simultaneously being very high in the odds, where flat death has a almost 16% chance of appearing, while for instance for a feather, crit rate only has a sub 8% chance of appearing. With all these odds stacked against you, it's quite hard to get a good artifact that progresses your DPS character. And this is why defense percent characters like Albedo are much easier to build and thus give you a pleasant break from all the roughness that you are usually experiencing with artifacts. Now there's a reason for this. And in short, that reason is 1. Money, and 2. Player retention. Genshin Impact retains its player base by making you farm artifacts on a daily basis, and commissions are also a part of this. Anything you feel like you have to do on a daily basis to progress your account is a mechanic to maintain player retention. The game is trying to make you stay on its treadmill for as much time of your day as possible and make you think more about the game. Having you log in on a daily basis and play the game is a great way to have you constantly engaged with the game, and you tend to spend money quicker if the game is a large part of your daily routine. And if you were to finish farming artifacts quickly, because artifacts could have much easier odds where you can build a character within maybe a couple of weeks of artifact farming, well then you wouldn't think so much about farming artifacts and maybe you wouldn't do it so diligently. And thus you would be playing the game less and logging in less to constantly make sure you're not capped on resin, so you can keep farming these artifacts. The other reason that Genshin Impact has rigged artifacts and bad chances against you is simply because purchasing resin is a form of revenue for MiHoYo. You can purchase resin directly with Primogems, and this resin is a form of revenue for MiHoYo. They make a large part of their money from people capping resin on a daily basis so they can farm as much artifacts as they can, so they can make their characters extremely OP. Good artifacts with resin farming combined with high constellations makes for incredibly strong characters, and this is only achieved by either a very long time and dedication to playing the game or grabbing your wallet and spending, which is what MiHoYo is trying to get you to do. So what can you do now that you have obtained this forbidden knowledge? Well, first of all, it is important to realize that getting perfect artifacts has incredibly low odds and that the odds are definitely stacked against you. Because of this reason, you should never aim to obtain perfect artifacts. Having a character at 80% power, where you have a reasonable amount of time that you can farm the artifacts, like maybe within a couple of weeks or a month, and then you see what you've got, and you try and build a character within a set amount of time, so you don't fall into the trap of farming artifacts for months just to get the character as good as you can. Once you have this character built, you can move on to the next until you have no characters you want to work on anymore. And then you have a diverse roster which you can play around with, and which are all nicely strong and probably strong enough for Abyss 12. And then you can look back and maybe improve some of your more weak artifacts. With this method, I would also not recommend to using any primo gems on refreshing resin, or at least only doing the first resin refresh on a day, because it simply means spending money or spending pools. Well, you could be either getting constellations, weapons, or a brand new character, and this will most likely improve your account much more. Definitely on the new character and weapon department in that case. And the last two pieces of advice I want to give you is: one, your goblet, your sands, and your crown are much more difficult to get good. So getting a good feather and flower is a much better goal than trying to get all 5 of the artifacts exactly as you want, as the feather and the flower have only one main stat, making them a lot easier to get right. And the second tip is to farm artifact domains that are good as a general artifact. Things like Emblem of Severed Fate are amazing, and that domain, both with the emblem and the Shimagawas, makes for one of the best artifact farming domains in the game, as it's not optimal on every character, but you can put it on almost all of your characters or sub DPSs or basic attacking DPSs. You can build a giant roster just from farming this domain, meaning you get a much wider array of artifacts from a single domain, unlike when you're farming a specific domain, like for instance the fire domain, which is still reasonably broad, or something like Heart of Depths, which only really fits on Tartaglia for now. You can of course specialize into specific artifact sets once you are very strong already and have established characters, and then you can get specific sets to really push your characters to the limit. And that was all on artifacts for me. I hope you learned something from this video or gained some new insights on how I look into artifacts on Genshin Impact. I really appreciate you getting to this voice clip, as I'm still a relatively new channel and your view matters a lot to me. And the fact that you watched this entire video to the end means you enjoyed the little bits of content I make here and there, and I really appreciate that. So on that note, have a nice day.